Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Gizmo Joe. Today we're going to be looking at the super affordable 4G compatible China Mobile A3s. I picked up the A3s for a measly $60 from geekbuying.com. I'll leave a link in the description for those of you who want to have a look. I have to admit that the $60 price point was what drew me to the A3s. I was very skeptical, as here in Australia, a $60 phone would get you a hunk of plastic with a terrible screen, about 512 megabytes of RAM, a barely functioning camera, and a 3-year-old version of Android. So let's jump in and find out what $60 gets you from China Mobile. The A3s runs on a quad-core Snapdragon 425 chipset at 1.4 GHz with 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB of storage. It runs Android 7.0 with no bloatware in sight, and you'll be happy to know that Google apps are pre-installed. The design of the A3s is very similar to that of the Xiaomi 5A, with the only major difference being the placement of the rear camera. The build quality is good, there is no flex, and the device feels pretty solid. In my unboxing video, I said that this device had a metal back. However, upon closer inspection, I suspect that it is actually plastic, with some minor metal accents around the camera lens and fingerprint scanner. That being said, I can't say for sure, so it looks pretty good. The front of the A3s has a standard layout with the selfie camera, light sensor, LED notification, and speaker grille at the top, with the navigation buttons at the bottom. On the back, there is an 8 megapixel camera, LED flash, and a fingerprint scanner at the top, and a single mono speaker down below. On the right side of the device sits the volume rocker and the power button beneath it. I should also mention that the power button has a texture to it, making it a little easier to identify by touch. On the left side is the SIM card tray, which is capable of taking 2 SIM cards, or a SIM and a MicroSD card up to 128 gigabytes. Finally, at the top of the device, you'll find a 3.5mm headphone jack, and at the bottom, a micro USB charging port. The display is a 5.2-inch LCD panel with a 720 by 1280 resolution. From my experience, the screen boasted good viewing angles and decent contrast. However, I found the panel to be a bit dim in direct sunlight. There is one slightly annoying thing I should mention. There is a black border approximately 1 millimeter thick around the entire viewable display that stretches to the edge of the screen. It's not incredibly noticeable, however, if you've got an eye for detail, you'll definitely be aware of it. The A3s weighs in at about 150 grams, so it's pretty light. At 9 millimeters thick, it's not the thinnest phone on the market, but it feels pretty good in the hand. Geekbench pegs the A3s at 656 for single core and 1470 for the multi-core CPU test. It's not the fastest out there, but it's got enough grunt for most. During everyday use, I found the user interface to be snappy, however some heavier apps took a few seconds to launch. I was able to play moderately demanding games like Asphalt without any frame skipping or lag. The fingerprint scanner is accurate, however there is a slight delay from registering your fingerprint to unlocking the device. The speaker is loud and does not suffer from distortion at higher volumes. The rear 8 megapixel camera is decent, however if you're a photography enthusiast you'll probably want to look elsewhere. Shutter speed was quick, however the lens fails to capture detail in anything less than ideal shooting conditions. Furthermore, any failure to hold the phone absolutely still can result in a blurry image. The front selfie shooter can indeed capture photos, however the resolution is poor, even with the beautify effect turned on. Overall, I have to admit that I am thoroughly impressed by the China Mobile A3s. While it isn't a powerhouse, the A3s combines reliable, everyday performance with an attractive design. Considering the incredibly low price point of this device, it's definitely worth some consideration for those on a tight budget. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you next week with an unboxing video for the Blackview S6. Thanks again. This is Gizmo Joe, signing off.